So the question is he gaslighting me? Hi, Olivia, how are you? Is he gaslighting me? I want to know if it's possible for my partner to be gaslighting me. I found some things that showed me clearly that my partner had been unfaithful to me. I confronted him and he denied it completely. When I went to show proof, he had deleted it. I kept asking questions and he kept telling me that what I saw wasn't real and it was practically all in my head. Haven't we all heard that before? When I accused him of other things, he would always find some way of making me question myself. He tried turning it around on me like I was the one that did something wrong and he was innocent. Does this sound like gaslighting? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is before I kind of get going, I know the person that's written this question probably has a good idea of what gaslighting is, but for those of you that don't know, I'm going to just explain to you what gaslighting is. Now, all of these sort of funky names for abuse, they tend to have these different definitions. So, I'm a great one for saying, look, we need to just know what the abuse is, and it doesn't really matter what we call it. It doesn't really matter. And what you're describing here to me sounds like abuse, but what I will say to you is, what is gaslighting? Okay, gaslighting is when somebody deliberately lies to you when they know that they are lying. And they deliberately lie to make you think you're crazy. Now, to me, that's lying. The other definition of gaslighting that I'm more familiar with is the definition where your partner knows that you're the sort of person that you generally put your keys in a certain place, or you put your handbag in a certain place, or they know you keep certain things in your handbag, and they deliberately move those objects to a different location or hide them, and then when you go to get them and you're absolutely certain you put the keys in a certain spot and you're absolutely certain that's where you put them, and you go to put your hand on it and they're not there. And then you ask your partner and you go, I always put my keys in that basket over there. I always, where's my keys? They go, I don't know. Or they go on to, say that you're chaotic, crazy, disorganized, all that. And for someone like me who's naturally a crazy, chaotic, disorganized person, as a lot of us are, I have certain spots I put things, and I don't always manage to do it, but I try to as often as I can. So for someone to do that to me and then turn around and say, you didn't put it back, would just do my head in. So that's what gaslighting is to me. It's that deliberate shifting of objects. I know it comes from a play. The term comes from a play where every time the lights dimmed because he was down, the husband was downstairs turning the light. I don't know the play intimately, but he was downstairs turning on the electricity downstairs and causing the lights upstairs to dim, and his wife would notice it and query him on it, and he would say, what are you talking about? That's where the term comes from. But to me, it's about, gaslighting to me is about moving objects. But of course, it can be the process of lying to you, which I just call lying. I don't need to label it as anything. The important thing is you know what you saw. You know what you saw. People will lie out of many, for many different reasons. They'll lie to escape. It's a form of escape. It's the escape hatch. If I can convince her that I really wasn't there, I really wasn't doing it, it really wasn't me, well, then they get away with it. So it's escape. And people lie often because, if they've got a bit of a personality disorder going on, they can lie because they want to convince you of something that they would like to be the truth. And so they think if they keep lying and they convince you of something, that then it becomes true. So, there's a whole lot of reasons why people lie. The other reason they can lie is because they're just ashamed and they don't want to confront how ashamed they are. So they'll lie. So, but the reality is it doesn't matter why they're lying, what they're doing. From your perspective is abuse towards you. It doesn't matter what it's called. So the reality is you saw it, you know what it is, you're not crazy. And so, it's knowing that you're right and having that confidence to know your own mind. That's very important. If you find yourself reaching out and wanting a second opinion and that sort of thing, it's two symptoms. One is the craziness that comes from being in an abusive relationship, and the second is your own self-confidence, which is often impacted by being in an abusive relationship because we're criticized, we're told we're crazy, we're, gaslighted, whatever else. All the toxic behaviors come into play, and it is crazy making. So it's really important that you have the confidence to know your own mind. The other thing I think is really important is you need to be clear in the relationship. Now, I know these conversations, they're not very romantic, but they're incredibly important. And you need to have them when the relationship starts to get serious. So you need to be able to have that conversation about what it means for commitment, because relationships, they can have all sorts of different ways of being. You can have open relationships, polyamorous relationships, or fully committed monogamous relationships. And don't have in your head this assumption that he understands that the relationship is monogamous. Two things happen. Number one, his concept of monogamous and yours might be totally different. Some people will even be in these relationships where they have multiple partners, but they believe it's monogamous because they have one primary partner. So it's very important that you have that conversation with him and make it really clear what your definition is and get him to talk about his definition. Don't let him sit there and be Mr. Say Yes, Act No and be passive aggressive and then come back to you later on and say, well, that was what you thought, but not what I thought. So make sure you give him absolute opportunity. Say to him, I want you to tell me what you think is a monogamous relationship. Be really, really, say to him, what is commitment to you? Make him tell you. Very important, because, it's another abusive tactic to say, well, I didn't agree to that, even though you've had a conversation about it. So it's really important also that in that process, it sounds to me like you've got a clear view of what you think commitment is. You're a fair and reasonable person. You treat people in a fair and reasonable way. And when you get caught up in that, you think that your partner, especially if he's told you he loves you, is going to treat you in a fair and reasonable way back. And sometimes we can get caught up in this pattern of keeping on, waiting for him to treat us reasonably. And that's where we can get caught in a really nasty toxic cycle where we're replaying our own stuff. So what's important is that you have in your head that not everybody is nice, and not every guy will have a sign on his forehead that says, I am a toxic toad. I will not handle your heart with care. They just don't. You have to wait for the behavior. Even the words coming out of their mouth can be everything you want to hear, but then the behavior doesn't match. So it's important that you are really aware that you have got to slow down in the relationship and wait for the trust picture to form. Really important. So you don't get yourself caught up in these situations, and you certainly make sure that you're clear about your boundaries. And if your boundary is, if you cheat on me, I will leave you, you really have to, for you to stay in the relationship, you have to really think about a sound reason why you would, because if you keep repeating the pattern where he stuffs up and you keep giving in, all he learns is, well, she has a bit of a hissy fit, but, I just have to wait and she'll give in. It'll all be fine. Yeah? So you're setting yourself up to be hurt over and over again. Build your confidence. Take time to listen to your instinct. You know he cheated. And next time, and my hope is there never will be a next time, whether it's with him or someone else, because being cheated on is pretty crap. But next time, if ever you find evidence like that of something, whether it's cheating, whether it's dishonesty of any sort, stealing money out of your account, anything, make sure you take a screenshot. Very important, because then you've got the evidence. Doesn't matter what he does. And then if it works for you to confront him with the evidence and have it there on your mobile phone and say, hey, here it is, then you've got it. So next time, don't just look at it and go, oh my God, and then, because he will delete it. And guys who are in affairs, that's one of the things they do all the time, is delete messages. It's one of the things they do. So what I really want you to do, rather than focusing on this, well, next time I'll take a photograph of it, I want you to just focus on your confidence, listen to your instinct, and I want you to work out what you want. Work out what you want, what your boundaries are, and go about creating that for yourself. Yeah, take action. Go about creating it for yourself, whether it's with him or not with him, someone new, yeah? All right. So I'm just looking through my notes. I've talked about having the conversation. Oh, yes. Now, I've got some blog posts that I want you to read because I think you'll find them very helpful. There is how to know if your partner is having an affair. And these are up on the blog at the moment, and I will put links to them in the comments when I get off this Facebook Live. So, how to know if your partner's having an affair. This is a good one. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. How are you? How to know if your partner's having an affair. This is a good one because it goes through all the classic signs that, look, it may not mean he's having an affair, but certainly if you see these things and you see multiple signals, it should be starting to flag something in you, especially if he picks up his mobile phone, he places it face down on the table. If it is password locked and you're not allowed to look at it, or if you are allowed to look at it, you see big swathes of text missing in messages. If there's lots of messages coming through, and if he's one of these people that just about takes his mobile phone into the shower with him and takes it to the toilet with him and won't have conversations in front of you on his mobile phone. These are all signs that he is having an affair. So a good blog post to read. It's got a whole lot of, I scoured the web and thought about my own experience and put together what I think is a really comprehensive post about that, of things to look for. The feelings trap. I'm really concerned that you've got caught up in this relationship with the belief that it felt good, so it must be good. Any toxic toad can make you feel great. And just because you feel great doesn't mean to say the relationship is great. So I want you to go and read that one too. And the other one is why men have affairs. So understanding all of that as well, I think, is very useful for you. So they're the 3 posts I would suggest for you. And the last thing I would suggest for you is my book. And I will put the link to that as well, which is Stop Kissing Toads, Pucker Up and Find Your Handsome Prince. And this book is all about identifying a toad. It's all about identifying those toads that masquerade as gorgeous little frogs that we're going to kiss, and then they're going to turn into the handsome prince that's just right for us. You need to know how to identify that toad before he manages to hurt you, destroy your confidence, criticize you, undermine you, or even in some cases where I've had girls, it's destroyed their life. They've gone back into the relationship and back into the relationship and kept giving and giving and giving and repeating this pattern where they overfunction in order to make a relationship work, and they keep getting poisoned. Yeah? So that's what this book's about. It will tell you all the different species of toxic toad. It will tell you how to identify them. It will tell you what to look out for. It will tell you how to work on yourself so that you know how to listen to your instinct. So that's my book, Stop Kissing Toads. It is now available on my website. It is $20. And, of course, just not forgetting that all the prices appear in American dollars. So that is my book, and I will put a link to that into the comments as well. Now, if you would like to ask me a question,